Hello everyone and welcome to Lush and Salty Aquariums. My name is Stefan. Thank you for supporting the channel. So this is my 11-gallon pseudo Blackwater tank. That's what I called it from the first video, a pseudo Blackwater tank. And that's because I wasn't entirely sure how far I was going to take that specific inspired biotope. Obviously I wasn't going to create a complete true biotope. I don't know that many people do in their fish rooms, the average hobbyist, but we are certainly inspired by different biotopes. And for a while now, Blackwater tanks have been one of the most popular of these sort of systems to recreate, in a sense mimicking the slow, still waters of Amazonian tributaries, everything from just the slow end of a river to damn near a mud puddle. Blackwater systems exist in nature as heavily tannin-infused warm water, and South American fish in particular take a fancy to them. Everything from the ubiquitous neon tetra like you're looking at here to something far more exotic like the licorice gourami, of which there are a half a dozen or so in this particular aquarium. Sharing this partial Blackwater system are also a group of Morse code tetras, bit of a higher end exotic, and I've talked about it before for two reasons. The Morse code tetra, one, the way their fins kind of rat tat 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 tat, see that one right there, and also because in the right light there is a dot dash gold pattern along their flanks. So for both of those reasons, and they're both wonderful reasons, I give you the Morse code tetra. And I have the neons, as I said, and the licorice gouramis, as well as some pygmy Coreodora and a number of Neocaridina shrimps, and finally a few Autosynclus as well. So that's a lot of fish for an 11-gallon tank, but they're all true nano fish in every sense of the word. And that, coupled with my tendency to always stock a little more than a little less, right or wrong, for better or for worse, it's just my MO, and so far I've been able to do that, not with impunity, but with good results. The reason I have called this a partial Blackwater started from the idea that I wanted a lot of plants, and plants tend not to do very well in Blackwater systems. The light can't get through, but even more over, the acidity, the pH, and the parameters related to a Blackwater system are not conducive to raising most plant species. And there's just not enough nutrients in the water column, and generally speaking. You could artificially do things to stimulate nutrients in the water column, but you'd always be facing an uphill battle if you kept your pH below, 6.8. As you start to get closer to 6 and 7, you become a system that relies more and more on artificial means in which to feed your plants, and there you go. I wanted a lot of plants, but I wanted the Blackwater effect, the tea-stained water. Now I could just keep adding tea that I make, boiling catalpa leaves, Indian almond leaves, things like that. Again, though, that would be sort of a constant battle. And battle's not the right word, because it's a lot of fun, to be honest with you. It'd be a constant effort to try to maintain some stability, and that's always going to be a problem. If one of the biggest reasons aquariums do poorly is because of a lack of stability. So if you're maintaining higher than recommended nitrate levels, it's better to just find a relatively high number and stick with it. So if your tank's been at 40 for your nitrates, rather than just fight to get it to 20 and only to see it drift back up, best to just try to encourage a steady baseline of 40 and work from there. I digress. That's not an issue in this tank. Nitrates have been at 0 from the get-go, I'm happy to report. And in the early going, that could easily have been another problem altogether. Could have gone the other direction. But I was lucky, and for whatever reason, my initial readings the first couple of weeks were great, and they continue to be great. So knock on wood that continues in spite of the heavy stock of fish and the relative small size of the aquarium. I'm able to achieve stability in this delicate system. The plants I have in here are obvious to some, and then there might be a few exotics within and without, but basically Anubias petite, Coffeola, different species of Anubias. Crypt parva, that's all these lovely tendrils. I planted it a little bit like hair grass, but I left a lot of space in between so that the crypt can behave as that plant wants to behave, which is as a stem plant, not a carpeting plant. And crypt parva is amongst the smallest cryptocorn out there, and I thought it would be wonderful in a low light system like we have here to grow this plant, and I haven't regretted it. Now, I'm not going to lie and say, oh, this is new growth. As I said, I planted these tendrils a lot like you would start a dwarf hairgrass culture, just putting one after the other into the substrate, which by the way is UNS aqua soil capped by some sand. But in any event, I did fill out the bottom along from back to front here, and then a little bit here and there. On this side, that's crypt parva there, a bigger specimen, the ram's horn snail in front of it. And there's some smaller ones. My goal isn't to have a carpet, and I wouldn't get one even if it was my goal, at least not in this lifetime. It would take forever, and I would have to change things up. But my goal is to have this low to the ground forest of cryptocorn that will never outgrow the tank like a Wendetti or a Balance. It won't reach for the top and flop over. It'll always stay true and tight to the bottom and spread ever so slowly in that fashion. And I love seeing the substrate between the small stems, and I don't want it to become solid green, and that's good because the plant doesn't want to become that either. So cryptocorn parva, crypt parva, wonderful underrated alternative to any number of carpeting plants, especially if you have a low light system or any kind of a blackwater. They will do good to even great. This is a dwarf lily, and it's finally starting to do its thing. It remained a bit static for the first month of this aquarium, and then slowly but surely the leaves started to fatten up and got closer and closer to the top like you see here. And I'm glad it's taken its sweet time, because this tank doesn't have the space for an overtaking lily. I was completely prepared to begin trimming this plant within a couple weeks, but I never have had to do that. I don't think I've cut one single leaf. As a matter of fact, this one here that's a little deteriorated, that one might be my first cut, because as I just noticed in real time, there's some damage to the leaf, and perhaps it's dying. And as with any plant that has leaves that are degraded, best to just get rid of them so the plant doesn't devote energy to trying to correct that matter and just starts from the bottom, growing new, beautiful leaves. There's a little bit of jungle veil in here because of the lack of light and other issues. I didn't expect much from it, and I was just hoping for a couple tendrils to kind of work their way to the other side of the aquarium, and that's exactly what has happened, so I'm super happy about that. I've got the ubiquitous frog bit duckweed up top, and the hanging down roots kind of collaborate, if you will, with the below water root structure of all this pothos, which is doing really, really nicely here and has been from the get-go. Sometimes those can take a minute, and you never know. They're not a sure thing, but they're pretty darn easy. It's a beautiful little alternative to the pothos plant with the variegated red-pink leaves. I don't have the common name for you, I do apologize, but most of you who do terrariums or vivariums immediately recognize that plant. It's not uncommon, and once it establishes in a system like this, it'll stay pretty constant, which is delightful because you just don't get a lot of red and pink in the plant world, and I'm happy to have it in this aquarium. The hardscape is petrified wood, so that it doesn't affect the water parameters at all. It's what they call inert, so a benign stone in terms of raising or lowering pH. I've got a piece of bogwood in here and some pothos kind of stuck into a cranny there that's already started growing and wrapping around that particular piece of wood, which is wonderful to see. I have to move my hand a little bit. You know, when you're holding a camera with one hand, it's easy until you start to shake a little bit, and that was happening here. Lest I forget, I've got the Brazilian pennywort, every aquarist's new best friend. I hadn't kept this plant, and I had always been meaning to, and I snagged a cutting here or there, and I've never looked back. It grows wonderful inside and outside of the aquarium, and it will take over if you let it, but it's so easy to maintain. You can just snip a piece like I did to the end of this floating tendril, and I literally just tossed it on the top of this sort of grow out tank here, and you can see it's doing just fine, and it'll send roots below the surface, so a little bit like water lettuce or something, and just a very fine addition to your easy to grow aquarium plants. Fast growing, pulls nutrients out of the water, which certainly wasn't an issue in this aquarium given minimal nutrients in the water, but it seems to be happy and find its equilibrium in almost, certainly in any and every setup I've used it in. I'm sure you'll have the same result. So about 2 months in, feeling pretty psyched about this tank. Before I sign off, I will say, in this lovely little Landon canister filter, which I really dig. It's sort of a tiny version of ADA's Superjet, but after a month I noticed my flow was just to a trickle, and when I did a full filter maintenance, I saw why. It was just full, like 1 second away from a complete heart attack. It was so low in flow. And Blackwater systems have a lot of sediment in the water. Obviously the tint, the brown tint that isn't necessarily visible as a particulate, but the pieces that are just got combined, and well, I got a log jam, I got a serious plumbing issue. But how satisfying to take your pipe cleaner and push it through these stainless steel pipes and see that incredible sludge come out, and then suddenly clear water blasting through. Yeah, we're crazy. We like stuff like that. But now I've reinstalled it and we're good to go, and it should take maybe twice as long to achieve that sort of blockage. And then within 6 to 8 months, I'm assuming this tank will behave like all my other ones, and I won't really have to do a serious filter maintenance for 2 or 3 months at a time. But I don't mind doing the maintenance. You know, it's part of the hobby, and there's something satisfying about everything: cleaning pipes, trimming plants, all the stuff that other people might take for granted. I find true joy in it. I don't know what else to tell you. It feels satisfying. It feels like I'm doing, connecting with nature. And all the reasons you guys got a fish tank, multiplied by 10. That's how I feel regarding this hobby, and I'm sure a ton of you feel the same way as well. Sorry for the digressions and the tangents and the rambles. I guess that's the table stakes when you enter into the fish tubing community, and I don't mind it when you guys do that, and I just kind of go along with you, listening to your train of thought and picking out delectable pieces from that train of thought that become an indelible part of my fish keeping repertoire. And I hopefully something I said while I was showing off this tank will do the same for you. Okay, everybody, as always, keep your hands in the tank, and ciao for now.